Sometimes the language of conflict, it becomes real. It stops being something you read about. The front line is no longer some distant place. It's the street right outside your window. This is the story of one of those times. And for people across central Israel, that wasn't just a saying. It was the absolute jarring truth. One minute it's a completely normal day with a skyline you've seen 1,000 times, and the next it's just shattered. Suddenly, all eyes were on Ramat Gan, just east of Tel Aviv. We're talking about a neighborhood, a place with homes. This wasn't a military base. And just like that, the crisis jumped from the news headlines right into people's living rooms. So let's break this down. The first thing to understand is the raw physical shock to the city itself. This is way bigger than just one building. It's that moment when the very idea that a city can keep you safe just cracks. And look, this wasn't just one thing happening in one place. It was a chain reaction. You've got sirens going off all over the region. At the same time, that building in Ramat Gan gets hit, and miles away, a high-voltage line is struck in Rosh Ha'ayin. This wasn't a single strike. It felt like a shockwave rolling across the area. And that right there is the turning point. The sound of those sirens, the sight of smoke in the sky, the flashing lights of emergency vehicles. All of it takes a conflict that felt distant and makes it intensely personal. It's right there. You can see it. You can hear it. But the physical damage, that's really just the first layer. The next phase of the impact goes deeper, targeting the invisible systems that keep a modern city alive. And this gets to the heart of the tension, doesn't it? On one hand, you have this promise of a modern, well-defended city, but on the other, you're faced with the cold, hard reality that even with all those defenses, the very core of the country is still incredibly vulnerable to being thrown into chaos in an instant. So when that high-voltage line gets hit, it is so much more than just a power outage. It's a direct attack on what experts call urban continuity. Think of it as the city's nervous system. Everything from the power in hospitals to the communication networks to the traffic lights. It all depends on it. In the middle of a crisis like this, a simple blackout takes on this huge, ominous meaning. It becomes this powerful symbol that says nothing is off limits. No part of daily life, no matter how essential, is truly safe from this conflict. Okay, so we've talked about the systems, but let's shift to the people. Because beyond the broken infrastructure, there's this immense psychological weight that just presses down on everyone living through this, day in and day out. And it settles into this agonizing routine, a cycle that becomes horribly familiar. The siren, that's just the start. The real stress, the real fear is in the not knowing, rushing your family to shelter, hearing that boom in the distance, and then that awful, tense silence as you wait to find out where it hit and how bad it is. Exactly. The damage isn't just about the explosion. It's about the fear that lingers long after. It's the constant disruption, the knowledge that another siren could go off at any second. That's the real weight of it. So to really get why this keeps happening, you have to look past the immediate damage. You have to start seeing these attacks for what they are, a kind of strategic message. Take this statement from Israel's prime minister. When he said the campaign is beyond the halfway point, everyone understood what that meant. It wasn't a signal that things were ending. It was the exact opposite. It was preparing the entire country for a long, drawn-out confrontation. So what you're seeing is this silent dialogue, a conversation being held with actions instead of words. Israel sends a message that it's in this for the long haul. And these strikes, they're the response. They're Iran's message of endurance, a way of showing they can still reach deep into Israel and create constant, grinding stress. So when you see a rocket hit a residential building or a power line, the goal isn't just breaking stuff. It is, for all intents and purposes, psychological warfare. It's designed to wear down the public sense of security, to make people feel like nowhere is truly safe. And all of this leads us to the aftermath, which really isn't an ending at all. It's just a continuation. It's about the questions that are left hanging in the air, and the fact that the threat itself is changing. For instance, the danger is getting more complex. There were serious concerns about the use of submunitions. Now, why does that matter? Because a cluster-style weapon doesn't just create one impact point. It scatters smaller explosives over a much wider area. That means the zone of risk gets bigger, and the danger is no longer just in one spot. And that's really the bottom line for the people on the ground. This crisis stopped being something distant, something on the news. It's woven into the fabric of everyday life now. The damaged buildings, the power cuts, the constant alerts, that's the new normal, as awful as that sounds. And it leaves us with this really fundamental question. We build these huge, modern cities to create safety, to build communities. But if their very foundations can be cracked in a matter of seconds, what does it even mean to be safe anymore?